War of Beasts got a pretty significant overhaul in the most recent patch. Today we're going to be taking a look at two replays from Glorious Feeder, utilizing elven casters on dragons with Lore of Beasts. Starting with the Dark Elves here, we've got Wissen's Wild Form, now with an armor-piercing component, makes it significantly more useful than before. Flock of Doom with the AoE kind of damage/debuff bug. This is quite strong. It's going to be hitting more targets than it should with that 30 meter on paper range. And then, of course, you've got Pan's Pelt, which got changed from physical resistance and speed now to physical resistance and melee defense. Very good. Of course, you can overcast this for an AoE. Same thing with Wissen's Wild Form. Flock of Doom gives you additional cast time and duration on overcast, just as a reminder. 4 builds here up against this Empire player. I've got some repeater crossbows up front, plenty of Fear Spears, including the Hellebronis, a couple of Corsairs, Sisters of Singing Doom, and of course the Black Dragon, also Knights of the Ebon Claw. Very interesting to see. A lot of people think Cavalry is terrible right now, and in many situations it's not what it should be, but I actually think that Cavalry is better in this patch than it was in the last patch, and actually not that far off from being where I would like it to be, believe it or not. But Outriders grenade launchers for the Empire, Volkmar, some Pistoliers harassing out on this flank, Bright Wizard up in the air, plenty of State Troop swordsmen, including Sigmar's sons, handgunners standing in a ditch. You're not going to shoot many guys down there. But anyway, we've also got Silver Bullets, some additional handgunners, Empire Knights protecting the back. This map, sort of Torgald, I believe it's called. It's pretty interesting. It's got these kind of weird little canal areas and lots of kind of dips and divots and so forth, so direct line of fire can be a little bit tricky, but of course Outriders don't care too much about that. They're going to come in and launch some grenades. So besides the spells we've discussed, also Curse von Rare, which you may have seen on this channel a little bit already, now instead of debuffing accuracy, as we can see, gives melee defense. So this makes Curse von Rare a very strong area of effect debuff. Definitely would recommend. We're not going to be seeing it in this particular battle, but still. Flock of Doom hits the Bright Wizard, I guess just trying to do a little bit of extra damage, hoping it'll also hit the Pistoliers. Does a tiny bit of damage on them. The Black Dragon, though, with Wissen's Wild Form, the extra armor, that 30 armor, is going to be good for anything that's like 70 armor plus. Kind of put it up there, and of course, with high weapon strength, Black Dragon, 520 weapon strength, so great little self buff. Same thing with the Pan's Pelt, right? Give additional melee defense and physical resistance to help this very expensive flying unit survive. Nice breath attack there. Just one-shots that unit of handgunners, perfectly placed down the line. What you'd like to see if you're a filthy Dark Elf. Anyway, nice crossfire, though, from the Silver Bullets, immediately opening up on the Corsairs. Volkmar kind of not really effectively blocking them. He weirdly charges into the side, but Knights of the Ebon Claw also find the gap. They're going to get through into this back line, light up those Silver Bullets. And here is Soul Blight from some Doomfire Warlocks, who I failed to see earlier. We've also got a Banishment now, unleashing on the Dread Spear Sisters of Singing Doom, who are still fighting, but that Soul Blight also now has an AP component, just like Wissen's Wild Form. That is going to lead to these Empire Knights getting significantly dumped on by this light cavalry here. That said, Volkmar is extremely dangerous to the Doomfire Warlocks, basically hard counters them. Yeah, Dark Elves, not too many numbers here. They are starting to run thin on infantry support somewhat, but the Knights of the Ebon Claw basically completely healthy here, just devouring these Empire Knights and the handgunners. The Beast Dragon, now juiced up, does have the Pan's Pelt for additional melee defense, up to 70 melee defense with that Pan's Pelt, which is significant. The physical resistance doesn't matter too much against Volkmar, as he does magic damage, but the Silver Bullet's also doing magic damage. Any other sort of incidental hits, though, from any of the other handgunners or whatnot will not matter. Nice Burning Head should finish off the Sisters there and the Fear Spears, but we'll have a look and see Bright Wizard getting tangled up with the Supreme Sorceress in the air. That's not great. Pistoliers continuing to kind of skirmish back. The grenade launchers also haven't really been highlighting them too much, but they're largely why this infantry fight has been going so significantly in Empire's favor. But another beautiful breath attack there. Knights of the Ebon Claw somewhat bogged down in spears. They're going to pull away and try and not just take that fight directly. The Dragon on the rear charge here should do okay. It's not getting fully surrounded by the spears, has easy avenues of escape, so that's just fine. But battle overall still very close. All this skirmish cavalry for Empire is certainly very dangerous. With Murderous Prowess still active, 50 charge bonus on those Dark Riders. It's great if they can get in contact, but right now they are just getting kited out and blasted. Nice rear charge from the Empire Knights. The Bright Wizard kind of keeping the dragon away from that cavalry would be a nice opportunity for a breath attack potentially. But even still, some of the Pistoliers and grenade launchers getting routed. I guess grenade launchers still fighting there. Their Flock of Doom is going to hit those Empire Knights and probably actually does not hit any of the skirmish cavalry, interestingly enough. But still, the dragon is able to make its way over there. Supreme Sorceress doing just fine. Knights of the Ebon Claw still fighting, trying to clean up a lot of these missile units. There's just units all over the place at this point in this sort of mid-game. Doomfire Warlocks, other light cavalry will be very key here. Right now, the Repeater Crossbows just utilizing their crossbows, but they definitely could charge in, potentially chase some routing units as well. But this is nice, you know, using the Dragon and Knights of the Ebon Claw in tandem. These Empire Knights are in a position to try and continue to screen for the grenade launchers, but with the Dragon close, the Knights of the Ebon Claw are going to be catching up with those Empire Knights. And then that's just bad situation. Unfortunately, it looks like they misclicked the attack order there, but still fulfilling the role, allowing the Dragon to terrify away. Speaking of Volkmar, he's also terrifying away some of the infantry here. And Volkmar being so healthy could potentially be a problem for the Empire, or sorry, for the Dark Elves in the late game. Really hasn't taken much damage at all. And of course, the Dragon doesn't have access to any healing with just Lore of Beasts, but we'll see. Right now, Knights of the Ebon Claw just hanging back, not wanting to overextend and get soloed by Volkmar. Likewise, the Repeater Crossbow is also going to be pretty important. They have quite a bit of ammunition left to try and shoot Volkmar, but you have to stay away from the grenade launchers. See if they are able to do so. Dragon pulling up and around. Doomfire Warlocks cleaning up a lot of these peripheral wounded units. Nice fireball placement. Going to hit only one model there of the Knights of the Ebon Claw, but still pretty solid. Balance of power not totally in Dark Elves' favor, but they've got some good opportunities here for cleanup. Grenade launchers having a little bit of a weird time with the slope, not really making consistent contact there. Do get a couple of hits on the Repeater Crossbows. But Knights of the Ebon Claw, perhaps with the surround and the Dragon getting in there with the weapon strength buffs, could also take down Volkmar. We'll see. As this late game unfolds here, Spearmen are going to get into contact with the... Oh, looks like breath attack. Nope, not quite. Fireball there. I'm not sure if it actually used the charge of the breath attack. It used partial. It did actually launch some missiles, but if it used the charge there, that's going to be unfortunate. It will have sort of lost that final breath attack, more or less. We'll see. Yeah, the Corsairs cleaning up spears here. There's still Doomfire Warlocks able to clean up as well, so things are definitely looking very close. Certainly anyone's game at this point, but these Black Ark Corsairs are pretty exposed here, all on their lonesome. Looks like the Knights of the Ebon Claw are going to try and potentially come in with the Dragon, get a good engagement, but yeah, the grenade launchers doing some pretty horrendous friendly fire on the Sigmar Sons, but also immediately leading those Corsairs to be routed. Yeah, Repeater Crossbows still cleaning out in the peripheral, but they're probably going to want to come back and try and get some shots on Volkmar here. We'll see. Volkmar, though, does need to be careful he doesn't get himself too isolated. Knights of the Ebon Claw come in. They're going to charge the Sigmar Sons. You can't really break them, but they will get some really good damage in. Not sure about this, because the Knights of the Ebon Claw will also get bogged down. But, oh, the Dragon is going to land, it looks like. Is unfortunately screened out very well by the spears, just because of the way that engagement played out. Doomfire Warlocks also lacking, but they do throw down a nice Soul Blight here. Shield of Faith also being used. Volkmar going to charge directly into the Doomfire Warlocks, understanding them to be a significant danger here, but let's see Empire infantry units terror routing. Knights of the Ebon Claw still fighting, and that Soul Flyer is going to be devastating for those Doomfire Warlocks. You can see them dropping very, very quickly. Yeah, Corsairs move in to try and finish off the last of the infantry, and it is quite the chaotic fight at this moment, but things are not looking spectacular for the Dark Elves. If they could finish routing a lot of these infantry support units, then the Dragon can cycle charge Volkmar, but the fact is their own infantry are much too low at this point. The Sigmar Sons being unbreakable will help kind of anchor this, plus there's plenty more regular state troops left. But yeah, right now the Dragon's still fighting, pretty much just the Dragon still fighting. Fireball does make contact there. And not looking too good. Pretty grim. Could Volkmar or the Grim, of course, himself completely healthy. So we'll fast forward a little bit as some of the Dark Elf forces rally together. They're going to try and make one final stand here. But grenade launchers just immediately routing the Dark Riders there. Doomfire Warlocks are going to drop their bombardment. A little bit of a flock of Doom left. There's not much Winds of Magic, I'm sure, for Glorious Feeder here, so battle ends up being pretty close. It's tough to say. I mean, the Beast Dragon, I don't know that it's necessarily super competitive, but certainly very fun. Maybe this could turn around. Very nice little rear charge here from Knights of the Ebon Claw. Opal Amulet on the Supreme Sorceress. Perhaps could get a couple of hits. Volkmar actually turns around to fight the Knights of the Ebon Claw. Takes a couple of hits from the dragon in the meantime. Once he turns around, though, to face the dragon from the front, that should do it. And this Soulfire also should finish off these couple of Knights of the Ebon Claw. There's literally 2 of them left. They get terrified. That should be army losses. So it didn't quite work out, but still very fun build. And I like the potential for this. I do think this Empire build pretty strong and also pretty well executed. The grenade launchers ultimately do end up proving pretty decisive. Glorious Feet are just not quite able to get a hold of them. The dragon, though, very impressive. It certainly paid for itself. 3,000 value. Plus 18,000 damage dealt. Very impressive stuff. The Sad Spears, a little bit sad. The Corsairs also, and the Sisters of Seeing Doom, kind of a letdown. I guess the infantry was really the weak point. I almost wonder if Glorious Feeder would have just gone with more numbers here. Maybe it works out better. Certainly Dark Riders can be pretty impactful. One of them is, 2 of them are not. The Repeater crossbows do okay, not quite enough. Knights of the Ebon Claw, though, fantastic performance. I mean, again, people say heavy cavalry, especially low model count, sort of monstrous cavalry is not great. I beg to differ. These guys did fantastically here, certainly. Doomfire Warlocks did pretty well also. You'd hope for a little bit more value, but the debuffs might have helped. But overall, very close. Volkmar, of course, doing quite well. Nice value on the Bright Wizard as well. The Pegasus sometimes can be a risky pick, but here it ended up being enough. And of course, the one thing that is notable about this replay that we did not see from the Lower Beasts is the Manticore summon, right? Because it's so expensive in terms of Winds of Magic, oftentimes really not what you want to be bringing anymore, honestly. A Lower Beast, quite solid in many other ways. Has the Age of Manticores ended? We'll have to see, but let's go ahead and get to the next replay. Now for the High Elves, same situation, Lore of Beasts on the Moon Dragon this time. Only 60 armor here, but fire damage and, you know, a little bit of a difference to the Black Dragon, but Transformation of G'dan, Flock of Doom, and Pan's Pelt, so a little bit of a different kit this time. We do see Transformation of G'dan, at least on the caster. Let's see if it's used. We've got White Lions up front, 2 Silver in Guard, 3 White Lions, Rahagvar's Pride War Lions, some Silver Helms with shields, and also a couple of Lothern Sea Guard. So relatively thin build. Also Heralds of the Wind, Regiment of Renowned Illyrian Reavers. Very interesting choice. Against Warriors of Chaos here, we've got Marauder Horsemen, Kolek leading the way, Shadow, Sorcerer, some Chaos Marauders. Got Warriors with Halberds, Chaos Marauders with Great Weapons, regular Chaos Warriors, 2 Chariots, and some Warhounds. So yeah, this time just the Pan's Pelt. But certainly the physical resistance can be good in a lot of situations. Melee defense also quite nice. These sort of melee attack defense buffs and debuffs. It's interesting with the High Elves, considering they already have pretty good stats to begin with, there's an argument to be made that you shouldn't actually be using them. But in fact, with the melee defense, you can get high enough melee defense where you're going to be minimum chance to hit. Against Warriors of Chaos, they tend to have slightly above average stats in terms of attack and defense, like Warriors with Halberds, only 30 attack, which for a Halberd is actually pretty good with 19 bonus versus large, right? So 49 effective attack versus large targets, and like with these Silver Helms here, 42 defense, you get that extra 24, and that basically just puts the Halberds close to minimum hit chance. Not quite, but Heralds of the Wind here, possibly going to get caught up by these Warhounds, but a beautiful screen through the Silver and Guard here. It takes some damage from the Marauders, but a nice Flock of Doom also hits all the Marauders and the Warhounds as well, so great value there. A little bit of chip damage on some of those cheap units. If we look at the total damage output here, yeah, 1600 damage dealt on the one cast. Not too much value, but still, considering how cheap and spammable that spell is, it is quite solid. So See how it goes. Nice Penumbral Pendulum also on the Sea Guard. Will be dealing significant damage. They are still fighting. Didn't lose too many models, but a huge amount of HP damage. And this High Elf build is a little bit thin, so let's see how that plays out. The Chariots could be somewhat dangerous to this infantry, but if they sit on top of the White Lines or the Silverin Guards for too long, they are going to take pretty significant damage. But right now, Lore of Beasts Archmage just chilling. I mean, certainly Flock of Doom being bugged does make Lore of Beasts, I think, sort of dominated by that spell, but here we are with melee defense, up to 68 melee defense going just straight in on Kolek. Of course, he has 66 attack plus his anti-large. He also pops his buff, so really not an engagement you would want to take, but you have to admire the audacity. And quickly just going to screen out Glorious Feeder, able to get his Archmage back up in the air, no problem. And now that pulls Kolek into this infantry fight, and look at that Flock of Doom, man. That is just hitting so many units right now. Yeah, you can see the value just tick up very, very quickly. A few hundred value just from that one cast, right? Because it's hitting so many units. So a nice breath attack as well. So far, the Beast Archmage just racking it up. Already 1,000 value. And this main melee engagement hasn't been going on too long. But Rahagvar's Pride now turned the flank here. We've got the White Lions also with the Silverin Guard moving in. The Chariots do get loose. They're starting to take down these Lothern Sea Guard, but what is this? Another Penumbral Pendulum actually hits primarily those two Chaos Marauders, so a little bit of a misplacement there perhaps, but Heralds of the Wind, having taken significant damage, are bailed out by the Silver Helms, able to push away a lot of this skirmish cavalry. An infantry engagement, the White Lines will trade very well into these Chaos Halberds, and the Halberds, can only be in one place at one time, although they are arguably the best halberd infantry right now, perhaps. Very cost-effective, certainly. They can't be everywhere at the same time. The dragon can just easily avoid them at this point. Nice critical mass here, though, forming for Warriors of Chaos with Kolek and the Chariots and the Caster all in this area, just absolutely ransacking all these White Lions. Both Lothern Sea Guard have been completely destroyed. So not all bad for Chaos. In fact, so far very close on the balance of power. Kolek's going to detach, come over here, go after these White Lions. The Silverin Guard also fighting, actually trading very well into the Chaos Halberds. That leaves the Caster a little bit exposed. He's going to get jumped by the Dragon. Rahagvar's Pride also providing some mass blocking and some additional AP damage. One last desperate Penumbral Pendulum, again with some friendly fire on the Marauders. Does some decent damage to the Silverin Guard too, though. Probably cost effective, and that White Lion just gets completely torn apart. We've still got a couple of Lion Infantry here. Rahagvar's Pride also completely healthy. Just going to start tearing through various Chaos Infantry. Probably another Breath Attack lining up soon for the Archmage. And so far, no Manticore summons, even though it is an option here. Rahagvar's Pride, again, just collapsing hard. There's pretty much just the Halberd Infantry, Kolek, and the Chariots holding. Another brutal Flock of Doom just hits literally everything that's left in the Chaos Army, pretty much. And you can see the damage on the Halberds, especially, is significant enough that it makes them quite uncomfortable. That being said, all of the High Elf Infantry is basically done. I mean, the very tattered White Lions here still in a position to try and support, but Cavalry staying mobile, not getting tied up in combat with anything for too long, and credit to, I mean, other than that initial kind of direct engagement to pull Kolek into the infantry, Glorious Feeder here has mostly avoided taking engagements with Kolek with anything high value, which is definitely the right call. The Silver Helms, other units kind of cleaning up a lot of this tattered infantry, just trying to isolate Kolek in the late game for Cycle Charge. It's probably going to be the best way of dealing with things, but the Chariots are still a danger. Rahagvar's Pride also charging in, just big ol' surround on this last unit of Halberds. There's the Mighty Roar, leadership debuff and speed debuff. Just kind of there. I've been campaigning for Rahagvar's Pride to actually get Terror for quite some time, but a big old Pan's Pelt gives everything extra melee defense, considering that a lot of these units have lost their martial prowess. That was pretty significant. Likewise, the physical resistance also helped them resist that damage, and just like that, Warriors of Chaos Infantry Terror routes, and the balance power is still very, very close, but mostly just because Kolek's still so healthy at this point. Quick charge here, nice breath attack on Kolek, a little bit of friendly fire, but the Rahagvar's Pride, the Silverin Guard, and now the finishing charge from the Dragon. That should do it for old Kolek Sun Eater. He's not going to like that. Probably give out his leadership, might fight for a little here. couple of hits on the Archmage and probably could take her down pretty quickly, but in this type of situation with the overwhelming support on the High Elves side, yeah, you can see the balance of power very, very quickly shifting. Chariots make a desperate bail attempt, but Kolek's already routed, awkwardly trying to path out of there. Chariots get landed on, and that is game. So 1 win, 1 loss. And I have to say, I have to try this out a little bit for myself and see, but I have been playing around with Lore of Beasts in general without Manticore summons, and I do have to say I'm a big fan of what they've done with the other spells. I do think Manticore summons at 20 Winds of Magic is too much. I do think they could put it back to either 19 or 18, and that would be fine. Given the way they've changed the other spells, I think there's still an argument to be made for them, and we'll be taking a look at like Curse Upon Rare and some others, specifically in some other battles. But anyway, 2,500 value on the Archmage with the Beast, some brutal Flocks of Doom there, and Great Breath attacks, also really nice Overcast Pan's Pelt in the late game. White Lions doing reasonably well. I mean, they do have a pretty tough assignment in this particular matchup. They can get outclassed by their infantry, but Silverhelm's also contributing quite nicely. It's kind of decent value all around on this High Elf army. Kolek pays for himself just about. I don't know, with his full kit, I think he's a little bit more expensive than what he got, but the infantry struggled, surprisingly enough, for the Warriors of Chaos, and I know people still, again, say you can't use Cavalry, but look at this. Even into a build with great weapons and halberds, Silverhelm's well microed. 1,000 points, just under 1,000 points, are cost-effective and over 100 kills each, so, I mean, people might say you can't use Cavalry, but really you probably can in the right situation. And against the right build, Warhounds are pretty much a non-factor because of that. Horsemen also severely limited here. Yeah, just fun stuff. Really like this build from Glorious Feeder. It's sort of all the things, well, I mean, White Lions are very good, Lothar and Seaguard are very good, most people would agree, but like, Heralds of the Wind are one that a lot of people would say are not cost-effective. Rahagra's Pride are decent, but a lot of people also don't like the Lions, but just great usage of some underrated, underutilized units from Glorious Feeder here, so love to see that. Hopefully you guys loved it as well. We'll be taking a look at some more Lore of Beasts replays coming up, but I wanted to start the discussion on this one. Let me know what you guys think about the new Lore of Beasts. Is it just better to not even worry about the Manticore summons and go with the buffs and debuffs, and of course, brutal Flock of Doom? Let me know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.